Hello, everyone. Sorry. So we are talking about Maggie Stiefvater's The Raven Boys today. Which I'm very excited about. Everyone who's here has actually read it, which sometimes doesn't happen with book clubs. But read it. So of course we're gonna start with everyone's ratings, and I also want to know who your favorite character is.
Oh.
So the first person on my screen is Erin.
Definitely, I'm going to say 5 out of 5, and my favorite is probably Gansey.
And then I have Kelly.
Yeah. Pretty much copying her answer. Like, it wasn't like a perfect book. It probably could have been, like, tightened a little bit, but I can't even complain because I absolutely loved it. So, 5 out of 5 and Gansey.
Megan?
I feel very similar. I 5 stars. Obviously. I had the same feelings as Kelly where I thought it could have been a little tighter, but I assume as the more books come out, the tighter it will be. Because, like, the more action there was, the tighter it seemed to get. And obviously I really, really liked Gansey, but he's been said a lot. So I also really liked Mara, Blue's mom. She was just really funny.
Yeah,
I loved her.
Yeah. Yeah, also 5 out of 5 on my first and my second read of it. So, and yeah, I thought about this like all weekend because I knew I was going to ask about favorite character, and I agonized over it, but I decided Gansey as well, which I didn't expect everyone else to say Gansey. I was like, everyone's going to like Ronan and Adam.
I thought everyone was going to say Ronan too, based on what people have been saying in the comments.
I think, so I was thinking about that. You really start liking Ronan in the second book. Because it's kind of his book.
Yeah.
The second book is very much his book, so that's when a lot of people start liking him a lot. I know if Erica was here, she'd probably say Adam, because I know she was really loving Adam a lot.
Yeah,
so,
I liked Adam too, but he
when
broke
she
my
said
heart.
that, she hadn't made it to the end of the book.
Yeah,
like, or even like I think she was like halfway
He
through.
hadn't evolved much.
Yeah. Or you just,
so I would be
it's
curious.
not even just that he hadn't evolved, but you hadn't seen the other side of him yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. But I know a lot of people still love Adam a lot, so maybe she still loves him.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
I don't know if we like skip to the end of the book yet, but I hope I will still love Adam as the series continues. Because I really liked all of them. I love the dynamic, but a lot changed by the end of the book. So I'm hoping.
There's no character that I don't like. Out of the like main characters, there's bad characters I don't like, but out of the main characters, there's no one that I'm like, oh, I wish this, which doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes like you have like the group of main characters and there's one you really don't like. Sometimes Adam really annoyed me in the first book. This one. But I still liked him. I understood I understood why he was doing and saying the things he was doing, but it still annoyed me. But
because like I almost loved the character of the group more than any individual in it.
True.
So like I don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
There seems to be some cracks forming, but
I really liked that article that you sent us, Emma, that like analyzed all the characters in the Raven Boys, and it mentioned how your favorite like kind of reflects your own like fears and desires in life, and I feel like Gansey like very much reflects a writer's type of mindset, like very desperate to achieve something enough that he's going kind of crazy over it. Which
and not even because he's going to gain something from it, just because he feels like he has to do it. I think that's the big thing. Adam really wants to do it because he feels like he has things to gain from it. But like Gansey wants to do it for like the joy of this, because he feels like he has to, you know, because he like was resurrected on the Lee line and stuff. So yeah, I think that's definitely true.
He's also just so desperate to like prove himself almost.
Yes.
Like to be his own man and stuff, you know.
Yeah. But I love them all.
I feel like this is gonna be one of those books
hard
that's hard
when
to
you
talk
just
about because we all loved it.
Yeah, we all loved it. The end.
I did want to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I started listening. I read the book, and then I had to drive a bunch because I had to go drop my dog off at my parents because they're dog sitting him for a little bit while we're out of town. And so I listened to about a third of the audiobook too, which is amazing. I don't remember the guy's name, but he talks slow and he has that southern drawl while he's talking and stuff. And it just sounds like an old southern man telling a ghost story. It's amazing. But I was noticing the second time through, I liked Ronan more than the first time through. The first time through, I just wanted him to stop being a dick. Like, everyone has problems, Ronan. The second,
get over yours.
I liked him more.
Everyone has problems, and you're just really bad at dealing with yours. Yes.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I did want to start by talking about the start of the book, because I think that's one of the strengths of the book is the beginning. Like, just like the way it starts, like it draws you in from the very beginning of the book.
Prologue, though.
Because I know, like it has some, like in the first like half, it has some things that are slow about it, but that first like prologue and chapter really draw you into the story. And even like the first sentence is really cool. I I think it's a good. It's just like a great study in like how to start a book. Like if you're ever like, I don't know how to start a book. Read the beginning.
If anyone's wondering, the actual line is, Blue Sergeant had forgotten how many times she'd been told that she would kill her true love. Bam.
And also by the end of chapter 1, you know that Gansey's going to die within the next year. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Which is so stressful.
Yeah, I know. I think it's such a interesting thing that like we know it's going to happen, and that like makes it even more stressful than like wondering if someone's going to die, you know?
And like I didn't know, having just read it the first time, if it was a thing that happened in the first book or if it was going to be a series-long thing. Like, how long does this book span?
Yeah.
I don't know. And within a year doesn't mean it's not happening next week.
Exactly.
And the book spanned only like a month. Like,
this
book didn't span much time at all.
Because
basically jumped ahead a bit at the end.
Yeah, the whole series basically spans a year. Because, I mean, not a huge spoiler alert. By the end of the third book, Gansey has not died yet, so it hasn't been a whole year by then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like once you get to the end of the first book, you assume it'll be the finale where that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow Maggie Stiefvater on. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, how many books are out so far? Just
There's three out so far. The fourth one comes out next month, and it's the last one.
Right.
So
I really have to catch up.
Yeah, so I highly recommend reading the other two before next month and getting the last one as soon as it comes out, because I just know I'm going to get spoiled. Like, I already know it. Like, I'm not going on Tumblr at all until I've read it, because I know that they're going to be talking about how he dies and, like, if, when, how they kiss and everything. Like, I can't. I don't want to know until I've read it.
Tumblr's terrible for spoilers.
I know
it's the end of April, so it's doable. It's doable.
Yeah, you can definitely read them. I read them really quickly. I remember when I read all three of them.
So now I follow Maggie Stiefvater on Twitter, and I have for a while, even though I hadn't read any of her books. She just like sounded Yalfus, and she's this awesome person, so I followed her. And I would read these asks that people had about the Raven King, and I just could not understand how they knew these things that were going to be happening in the fourth book. I was like, what is happening? Like, how many spoilers did she release?
How do they know the main character's going to die in this book? Yes.
But now it all makes sense.
You know, she tells you in the first chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know. I think it's like a cool effect, because a lot of authors, like, if they're going to kill off the main character, it's supposed to be like a shock thing, but that's not what she chose to do. And I really like the article that I sent you guys. One of the points it made that I really liked was it talks about, like, because she tells you that at the beginning, you know that, like, this is like this story is like a finite experience, I guess. Like, you know that when the series ends, you're not going to be able to be like, and then their lives go on the same. You know, like, you know what, this is like for you know, a year or less, you're going to have this, like, life happening for them, and that's all you get. And I thought that was, like, really cool that it makes the, like, story seem, like, more important, because you know it's not going to last. It seems very fleeting, I guess.
It's very stressful.
Yeah. Because
definitely makes you want to read on.
Yeah, like this group of friends
what happens
becomes complete when Blue joins them, but you know that in less than a year it's like going to basically be over for them. You know, even if the rest of them are still alive, it still won't be, because Gansey is what kind of like holds everyone together. So.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't know. Is there no chance that she's gonna like find a way around it Because
That's what I was
the
wondering.
time when people die in YA. We find a way around it.
I know, and I feel like that's possible with this series because she tells you at the beginning that he's going to die. Maybe the surprise will be that they find a way to.
Yeah, and Mara does say that the St. Mark's Day is not a guarantee, it's a promise, which I don't know what that means.
I also noticed, because once you've read this book and then you go back and read it, you realize that most everything, like, a character tells you flat out before, like, the surprise comes. So I did notice
Oh my god.
yeah, near the very beginning before Blue meets Gansey, so it's like she's had the vision, and I think it's when she knows he's coming for the psychic reading, but she hasn't, like, met them yet. She's thinking of, but she has the journal. Yeah, she's gotten the journal already. So she has met them, but she doesn't know it's Gansey, and she has the journal, and she's reading through it and finding out about Glendower, and she finds out that you get to, like, ask Glendower for a favor, and she thinks about, like, what kind of favor she'd ask for, and, like, what she thinks, like, would I ask for Gansey's life to be spared? So I'm like, so maybe that's what'll happen, like, we'll ask for the favor or something. So, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he'll just be a ghost, like the next thing we can talk about, which is Noah.
Talk about a shocker.
Yes. Talk about a
But
shocker.
listening to it the
So
second time, it's super obvious.
It's
Like,
so
your
obvious.
first description of Noah is the exact same as she describes Gansey at the church.
Yeah, and also, so like,
The first thing he says is that he's dead.
So yeah, rereading it, I highlighted it and marked it with a flag and everything because Declan and Ashley, like, they come and Ashley meets Noah and she's like, "Oh, your hand is cold," when they shake hands, and then Noah says, "I've been dead for 7 years. That's as warm as they get." On page 47, and you're so surprised 200 pages later when you find out he's dead. And he actually says that to him. He said that to him. He's like, "I told you guys."
I keep trying to tell you I'm dead, and no one listens.
And when you reread it, it's so obvious because, like, it'll talk about, like, Ronan and Gansey and Adam all being at school, and you never see Noah at school. And he's always he never eats. He, like, refuses to eat pizza with them. Like, but he just seems like he's just a really weird guy.
Yeah, they don't think that he's going places with them, and then they turn around and he's there.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's, like, part of what made it so effective and surprising is that he says it, and so you're like, oh, obviously he wouldn't actually tell them if he was dead, you know? So
I didn't see it coming at all.
yeah,
But I never do.
I don't
I didn't
remember.
I knew it was sketchy, but
No,
I
I
didn't see it
didn't.
coming.
Yeah, I don't remember
I thought
if
it
I
was
saw
weird.
Yeah, like, I really cannot, like, usually I remember, like, oh, I remember realizing, but I don't remember when I figured it out, if I figured it out. I remember thinking there was something weird about him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I
Well,
think,
she kept describing
I
it as, like,
see.
smudgy. I'm like, what does that even freaking
Yeah.
mean?
I know.
Because I'm the same as Emma. Like, I'm rereading this. I read it already before, so I, like, vaguely remember my reactions to it, but I know I didn't see it coming. Like, I so rarely see these things coming, though, in reference to, like, we were liars and stuff.
That's where my brain went as well.
Just don't see that coming.
Yes. And also, another thing that I noticed that she tells you, I don't know if I marked this one or not, but, like, after Ronan gets Chainsaw, the Raven, he says something about, like,
Oh, he says it's in his head.
yeah, someone's like, where did you get the, oh yeah, here it is.
He's drunk.
Gansey's like, yeah, he's drunk, and Gansey's like, where did you say you found that bird again? And Ronan says, in my head. And he was like, oh, whatever,
And
Ronan.
he just cackles.
Yeah. And then at the end, he's like, no, really, I dreamed up chainsaws. Really, she did come
So weird.
I did guess that he had something to do, because they've dropped a little bit more hints about him with, like, the whole he's creating thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's just an odd.
I just love the mythology and weirdness of this book.
Yeah,
It's so
I
good.
know. And it's such an odd book. Oh yeah, I love this. It's the very last sentence of the book, and I took Chainsaw out of my dreams.
That is the one thing I don't like about the book. I think the ending is stupid. I think it was like a grab to get people to read the second book,
Yeah.
and I don't approve. I feel very
Oh, yeah,
passionately
that is
about
very
that.
Tell us how you really.
I I loved everything else about the book,
Yeah.
so I feel like I can be really passionate about that one
About
part.
that one thing you didn't know. Yeah, gosh. Yeah.
Did you guys know, though, when they're finding Noah's body and they see that it's Noah's, there's like a beat before they say his last name? Did you guys immediately jump to him being Cherny or whatever?
See, I think that's what
I don't think
I remember
so.
there was something that I figured out, and I think that might have been it, that I figured out.
Because
he
I
was
figured
the
that out.
Yeah, I think that's what I figured out.
I didn't figure out he was a ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, like once they were like, oh, he's dead, I was like, oh, it's like the car, it's Charity. Yeah, I think I like pieced all that together once I knew he was dead.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to remember, but I'm pretty sure I was like completely blindsided by it.
Yeah, I think I
I'm
was
not
too.
100% sure. It was a really long time ago that I read for the first time, so
Yeah.
I was like struggling to remember details because like I read over like the synopsis basically online and then like skimmed through it because I'm like, oh, I'll remember most of it. I'm like, no, there's a lot of details that I apparently do not remember.
Something I noticed, because it had been a while, so I couldn't remember all the details. When I was rereading, and Declan introduces them all to Ashley, and like it talks about how like Adam feels suspicious that she like is curious about Glendower and the Lee lines and all this stuff. I was like, because I couldn't remember very well, I was like, is she working? Because I knew that Welk was the bad guy, and I was like, is she like working with him or someone else? And I couldn't remember. It turns out she's just a total red hair, like a good enough red herring that I got tricked by her twice. Like I was like, is she involved in all of this? Yeah. I thought that was interesting because like I'd forgotten about that fact that like there's kind of this weird like is she involved in Glendower stuff until I reread it and I was like, what is it? Like it's a really random scene that I guess is just meant to mislead you. I don't know. Oh, I like that Megan brought up that she liked Mora. And so I like that there's like parental involvement in this book and there's like adult involvement in general. Like, there's a whole group of adults who are really important to the story.
Actually, Maggie Stiefvater is really good with that because it's the same in the Shiver series that her parents were very much like present. I mean, they were still like running off to go to this and that and like leaving her at home, but there was a lot of like mention of her parents and how they influenced her growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's more realistic. I actually really like that.
And like Mora gets like even more involved as the series goes on. But yeah, I like that she's like very present and involved and knows what's going on and like because she's a psychic, so she's not like clueless. Like my daughter's running off doing stuff. Like she knows exactly what her daughter's doing. Even when like Blue thinks she's sneaking around, her mom knows what she's doing. I love that whole scene when they confront her and like all the women are drunk and they're like,
let's talk.
Yeah.
And I like that there was that like weird conflict too, where she did not want Blue to do this thing, but they didn't have a relationship where she tells Blue to do things.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out like drawing a balance, and one wasn't really drawn. I assume one will be drawn more in later books.
Yeah. Yeah, I like all the women in general. Like all the psychics are really cool.
Yeah.
And
I love the unusual family dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how Calla is always pissed off.
Yes.
She just is really excited.
I love Calla. I love Calla so much. She's so great. Yeah.
Do you think Calla knows
the second book
about Ronan's dad?
Does Calla know the secret about Ronan's dad? I don't know.
Because she touches him and she says, a secret killed your father and you know what it was.
What it is,
so I've been wondering if she knows what the secret is now.
I don't know.
I assume we learn what the secret is probably in book 2 if it's a Ronan book.
Yeah, you learn. Yeah, so book 2 is mostly about Ronan. An interesting fact about the series is book 2 was actually written first. So that was like the story.
Really?
First was Dream Thieves. Yeah, she wrote that, and then she realized that like because it was like a story about Ronan, and she realized that you couldn't like that you needed to see Ronan through someone else's eyes before you saw him through his own eyes. And so she wrote the first book that was mostly from like Blue's perspective.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, and I think it is cool. Like when you've like seen Ronan from the outside, like I don't think you get any Ronan POV in this book. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you get like all the other characters, but not him. And so like you're just seeing him from the outside and how everyone perceives him, and then you get to actually like understand what's going on with him in the second book, which is really cool.
And you've read the third book
I think
as well?
that's a really.
Does it have like a specific,
That's a really
it's so-and-so's book?
Not as much as the first two do. If anybody, I would say it's kind of Adam's book, maybe, but it's got a lot of Gansey and Blue in it too. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird that it isn't Blue since her name is in the title.
It's in the title. Yeah. I know, right? The fourth book, I have a feeling, is going to be a lot of Gansey.
So she can rip our hearts out?
Yeah, exactly. but yeah, and also I don't remember the third book as well as I remember the first two. I think because I read that one in an ebook and I don't absorb ebooks as well. That's the one I really need to reread because I remember a lot happened, but I don't remember what all it was. So I need to read that one again. Yeah, I don't remember that one. Yeah.
And the same way with ebooks. It was like me reading the second in Kiara Cass's series.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything that happened in that one.
I don't remember anything that happened in those books because I was just trying to get to the next like kiss scene. I was like, when do people kiss again? Like that's all I care about.
Fighting, get through that.
Stop arguing and just kiss. But it's kind of how I feel about these books sometimes. I'm like, kiss already.
Except that if they kiss, he's supposed to die. So.
Yeah. Except if you die anyway, you might as well just kiss. That's how I feel through most of the
kind
second
of awkward, you know.
In the first book, there's not a lot of like Blue and Gansey stuff going on because she's sort of like trying things out with Adam. But in the second and third book, I'm like, he's gonna die anyway, and you know it. Just kiss him. I don't care.
Yeah, just kiss him when it's not raining. Nobody's not raining.
Problem solved.
But yeah,
like
she does a really good job with micro-tension in general, but specifically with romance. Like, like I remember reading this book for the first time, and you get like, there's been like no like romance between Blue and Gansey. Like the only hint of it is is like the beginning, you know, where you're like, I guess they're supposed to like each other. But then there's like when she sees the vision in the tree where they're like about to kiss, and you're like, oh.
Up until that tree point, I was actually kind of more shipping Adam and Gansey.
Yeah.
It's like, why aren't you guys together? You already fight like a couple.
I know a lot of people
love each
do.
other.
Yeah.
But then the tree.
A lot of people do
my
ship
heart.
them.
Yeah. I feel like Adam would never be able to be with Gansey because he has too much of like a inferiority thing with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to like belong to him. Yeah. He doesn't want to ever like belong to him. Yeah. But I love Blue and Gansey from the very beginning. Just like the way they interact. Like I'm a sucker for like couples that don't like each other at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like rereading it, their first conversation in Nina's the pizza place, I was like at work trying not to crack up because it's so funny when he like basically calls her a prostitute and like, and he's like, no, that's not what I meant. Like that's why I love him, I think, because he's just like so clueless about things sometimes, and he has like great intentions but just says the wrong things.
Like the stereotypical YA male brooding protagonist, like intentionally says things like that to like hurt people and push them away. But just like he wants people close and just says things,
which is so much more realistic.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just gonna say I can totally see shipping Adam and Gansey because he has that, like, I don't want to belong to anyone, like, oh, you have to keep all your positions under the same roof. Like, lines like that, I'm like, this is making me ship you.
Yeah. Just wait
because there's that push pull thing. Really? Oh my god. I'm just like shipping you because I'm watching the City of Bones movie and Alec and Magnus.
Yeah.
Goats! I want to go together.
We can talk about that later, but I just want them to kiss already too.
Yeah, but it's the same vibe with Adam and Gansey. I'm like, just kiss.
I just want, like.
Why are you not?
It's because I like after reading all three of the books that are out, I definitely have like two like kind of clear ships where I'm like, if I could have my way, it'd be these two like ships would be going on in this book. But like honestly, I could be down with like anyone being together, like. Because it's all their relationships are so complicated and like it actually the article I sent you guys, there's another one for the second book where like he talks a lot about like their relationships and how there's a lot of like jealousy and or maybe it's in the article about the first one. Anyway, they talks about how there's like a lot of I think it's a she, all the like jealousy that's involved in their relationships and like you kind of get that when Blue joins the group that like Ronan doesn't really want her there because he's like intruding on his friends and like.
Or the beginning when Ronan hears that Adam would go with Gansey if Gansey left somewhere and Ronan's feelings are hurt because no one asked him to go if Gansey left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. I love
very complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I really like too that though Blue does not like Gansey at the beginning and she calls him President Self.
I love that nickname so much.
Even when she like knows he's not completely a tool, she still doesn't super like him, but she doesn't like take an inordinate amount of time in the book pushing him away.
Yeah.
Like, so doesn't feel forced, you know? And so even though they don't hang out alone more than once, it's still like realistic. Yeah. They aren't being kept apart for the sake of the plot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
true.
She has that first impression of him, but she does give him a chance after that. Like once she sees the journal and finds out it's his, I think she kind of wants to give him a chance. I like the line where she says something about like she's trying not to look at his shoes because if she doesn't look at his shoes, she can like him more. If he pretends he's not wearing the stupid boat shoes, she can like.
Oh my gosh!
It's one of my favorite lines in the whole book.
I live in Georgia right now, and that description is so spot on. She dresses exactly like all the rich Georgia boys.
The rich Southern, he dresses like a rich Southern boy.
The cargo shorts, the boat shoes. It's horrible. I hate it.
Cargo shorts.
Here's the line because I highlighted it because I loved it so much. Blue tried not to look at Gansey's boat shoes. She felt better about him as a person if she pretended he wasn't wearing them.
That's so great.
It's lines like that. It's so great.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say it's funny, Megan, that you mentioned about Blue not continuing to push him away after some point. So I feel like that's something that YA books really fall into that trap too much sometimes. When they're like, oh, it's like you can feel the author behind the scenes forcing them to continue to pick at each other, and they're just at that point they're just arguing for the sake of like tension, but it's not really working. Right? It's annoying.
You know fairly early on that really they just keep picking at each other for fun, like they enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, because there's like some parts in Gansey's POV where it talks about how he's like thinking about the next like annoying things he can say to her, basically. To get her riled up. But yeah, and I love all the things he says. Like I was like highlighting some of the weird things he says. Like he says things like top shelf and like
Excelsior.
Yeah, I love that he like non-ironically says Excelsior all the time. Like the things he says that he isn't even like being like if anyone else, if like Ronan said them, it'd be an ironic thing. But for Gansey, he's just like he's so genuine. I feel like like he's not embarrassed about his excitement for things, which I think is really great.
My gosh, one of the scenes I reread today was like the part in his dad's trailer.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then when like
so mad.
When Ronan comes and saves him, it just
I know.
I think that's the part in this book where you really start loving Ronan. Like he's like he's just a total like asshole up until that point, and then he like comes back to save him and you're like, oh my God. Like beats his dad up.
When Adam says that the headlights are still on through the window, I was like,
yeah.
He's staying for you.
He's coming back for him.
Go.
Yeah.
Run to him.
Oh, Ronan's so great.
My favorite line in the entire book, I thought about this a lot because there are a lot of really good jokes, but this one resonated with me personally. Was when they were talking about the pygmy tyrant, and Blue said that to her, pygmy tyrant sounded like a career.
Yeah,
that really does.
I found another great description of Gansey's clothing. Like it's like a yellow polo shirt that made it look as if he were prepared for any sort of emergency, so long as the emergency involved him falling onto a yacht. Once again, that's from Blue's point of view, in case you can't tell. Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
I
There's
wasn't
also-
expecting this book to be so funny.
It is really funny. Like, there's like the part where they're in the helicopter and Helen's like, "What did you get Mom for her birthday?" And Gansey's like, "Myself." Yeah. It's
There are
way
parts
funnier
for
to
some
think.
reason. Oh, I was
Yeah,
just
I
gonna say there are parts that remind. Am I lagging? I feel like I'm lagging. Yeah, that's what I figured. I was just gonna say Gansey reminds me a little bit of Gatsby in places.
Definitely.
I could see that. Yeah. But yeah, I think this book is interesting because I think most people don't know what to expect going into it. And I think part of that is that it's really hard to like pinpoint it in like a genre. Like I've seen
It's
it
not high concept, really.
No, it's not. It's very hard to explain what it's about to people. And like I've seen, it usually gets categorized as paranormal romance, which I guess technically it is, but it's like very misleading because it's not like most paranormal romances. Like I know I saw
I'd call
like
it just paranormal.
yeah, like I saw like a question on Goodreads that was like, is this like a Twilight type book? And everyone was like, no. It's not
No.
no.
I wouldn't call it paranormal.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely fantasy, but it's it's like a weird genre to try and figure out. Like I guess it's got some paranormal, it's got some ghosts.
And based on like
That's true.
what it has in it, it's not a book I'd usually pick up. Like I don't really like ghost-based stories or psychics or that kind of stuff, and I loved everything. Everything.
It made me super want to pick up that old ghost story that I wrote forever ago and revise it. And I can't do that because it will become a fan fiction of the Raven Boys. I just know it will.
Yeah, I know. I think what really like makes this book strong, which is basically what we've talked about most of the time, are like the characters and the relationships in it. Like without that, it wouldn't be that great of a story if it was like flat characters or they're like or just like not super great relationships. Like I was telling someone, I don't remember who it was, I was talking to about it when I was rereading it. I was like, literally the plot of this book could have been anything and I wouldn't have cared. Like it has a good plot and an interesting, like the series has an interesting plot, but really it could have been about anything and I wouldn't have cared because I just like I'm reading it for the characters.
I think the quality of the writing as well is pretty undeniable.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Her descriptions, man.
Yeah.
She had a way of like writing where I was pretty sure she was telling instead of showing, but it was so well written that it felt like she was showing.
Yeah, she does a really good job of describing things. I don't even understand.
Like when she
Describing
says
people.
like every part of like Ronan slams everything, and if his car was sharky, it learned it from him.
Yeah.
All that.
It's like the way she tells it is actually showing. You know?
Yeah.
Like she tells you things to show you other things, I guess. Which is really well
I don't know
done.
how she does it.
Yeah.
I'll
just-
never know.
Yeah, and I liked like Erica's Inspiration Corner video this past week. She was talking about how like when a character is introduced, you basically know like everything about their personality from like one line. It's just such a
Including
good
Noah.
job of it. Yeah, including Noah. You don't realize.
He just tells you.
I do love Noah. He's great. He does stick around in case anyone's wondering.
Thank
He's in like
goodness.
the whole series.
The part at the end with the car when Ronan spells remembered.
Yes! Oh my gosh. It's things like
That was the one
Ronan
time
is
where
actually,
I saw why people really love him.
Yeah, you're like, Ronan cares! He's just wearing a mask, that's all it is.
Something.
Yeah. I do like there's like a part where like I don't know, like I guess Blue sees Gansey like put on a mask basically. Like she sees like for a moment that he's like really I think it's maybe after his fight with Adam, I can't remember. I know that's one of the scenes where she sees him be miserable. But there's a part where she talks about like how she sees his mask and like there's like a line where she says something about like how someone like of his age and with his much money, like why he would have needed to learn how to put on a mask she doesn't understand. Like I think that's a really cool part because I think Blue and Adam kind of like have this perception of Gansey that he has everything, he doesn't need anything, like everything's perfect about his life, but like he obviously has things that have like tortured him too, you know? Like that, you know, that Blue catches this glimpse of for some reason in his life he's had to like figure out how to cover up how he really feels. It's cool.
Yeah, even the first time she like meets him as Gansey in her house or whatever when he comes for his reading, she says she sees him slip back into President's cell phone, and she wishes she'd been paying more attention so she could have known what he was before.
Yeah.
The class dynamics were super interesting.
Yes. And I know that like Maggie has talked about how Adam's character comes from like a really personal place because she's been really poor before in her life, and like she's been like the trailer trash or whatever, and so like you can tell that his character was really personal. Because he's like written in a very nuanced way that I think like everyone is written. No one's just like the rich kid or the poor kid. Like it's very so many dynamics to them.
I want to read it again.
I know. I've already read all of them, and I finished this one, and I was like, I need to read the second book. I've already read it.
I don't have it at my library right now. I can't afford books. I'm going on a road trip.
I need to reread it really badly now. I only skimmed it, wasn't enough.
Yeah.
We're doing comments. Is anyone over there?
What was that?
Comments?
We have some comments. Hang on. Let me go over to them. Click, click, click. They're loading.
Your
Okay.
internet sounds like mine.
We've got someone asked for a link to that article we mentioned at the beginning. That is down there. So if you are watching and also wanted to read the article about the characters in the book, that's in the comments. Vanessa V said, I really liked Blue. In the beginning of the novel when they kept flashing between Gansey and Blue, I got annoyed a bit. I just wanted to stay in Blue's head. I loved her relationship with Maura, too. Which...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting initially for it to be like a POV switching book. Like I thought it would be Blue's perspective of the Raven Boys, but I
wasn't expecting that either. Yeah. I remember there were like a couple times, maybe in the entire series, where I was like, no, don't switch. I want to stay with this person and what's happening. So for the most part, I enjoy the like seeing what's going on with all of them and getting in all their heads because like there's just so many like things going on in their heads that you can never tell from the outside. So it's cool to see.
And then we've got another comment from Ellie. She said, I love all the relationships in the Raven Boys. All of them have different relationships with each other, and it's so fun to read about in the next books. Like every time Ronan describes what Blue wears. So I'm very excited to see that.
I forgot about that. I remember now that he does describe her outfits all the time, all for weird, quirky outfits.
But I imagine that he will think about her outfits the way she thought about Gansey's outfits.
Very probably. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Is that all the comments?
That is all the comments that are about the Raven Boys at this moment.
I also thought it was interesting, it's funny because, I, for some reason, thought there was more about Barrington Welk, and I was like, oh, he really wasn't in it that much for, kind of the, antagonist of this story. And I do think it's interesting, the contrast between him and Gansey, because they were very similar as teenagers, and, were both into, the interest of, hunting for, they both were just, caught up in the quest and the research of it, but then, one of them went crazy because of, family crisis,
Yeah, he's Gansey if Gansey lost everything. But I like to think Gansey wouldn't go crazy and murder his friends.
Yeah.
He has a better support system. He's got more friends who would hold him back.
Yes.
Do you guys know
and he seems to like his
Maggie,
friends. Yeah.
I was going to say, do you guys know if Maggie did the illustrations on the front? Because I know she draws.
I don't think so.
I don't think, these don't look like her styles. I don't think she did these.
No.
I love the covers of this series, though.
Me too.
I wish I could buy you. But there's
jacket art
I need to own the
by Adam S.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The jacket art is by Adam S. Doyle.
Yeah.
And designed by Christopher Stengel.
Yeah, the cover is most of the reason I finally decided to pick it up and read it, honestly.
Yeah, she
thought it was a really
draws
cool
some
skin
really
cover.
cool stuff, though.
She does.
Like,
And she does
yeah,
art
very
from the
talented
series,
artist.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm afraid to look at her Tumblr now to find the art because I don't want to get spoiled on books too easily.
It's okay, most of her Tumblr is just, are you really going to kill Gansey? And she's like, I made you a promise in the first book, and that's all she'll say.
Promises can be broken, Maggie.
But
You
not
don't
a
have to do
guarantee.
this.
Not a guarantee.
Maybe Adam will take his place. That's my theory. Adam will take Gansey's place so that he doesn't hurt him. Interesting.
I'm very anxious about the last book, to be honest. I want it and I want to read it, but I'm also very worried.
Last
I
books
care
are
so
always
much about these characters already because I read this book this week.
Yeah.
Like, I'm invested.
I know, you get so invested. And you get so invested in the character who you know is going to die. It's not fair. I shouldn't care about him. I think it's basically the same as like how Blue feels. She's like, I shouldn't get emotionally invested in him because I know he's going to die.
I didn't think she should, like, realistically be thinking about that more.
Yeah.
Like, she just pushed it out of her head a little easily that either she's going to kill him or he's her true love and he's going to die, but these things didn't really factor in most of the time. I would be thinking about that constantly.
I guess they had a lot of things to think about. So,
Yeah.
I do like there's like the scene when they go, I think it's when they go to stop Adam, that it's raining, and like she gets really worried, but then she like realizes he's like not wearing his sweater and stuff, and so she's like, hopefully it'll be okay. But like, yeah, like basically just Gansey being in the rain freaks her out because she's like this is the time.
When she saw him as a spirit, she could see him well enough to know what he was wearing and that he was wet, but not well enough to recognize him in the restaurant.
Well, she talks about how she
Oh, his
like.
face is smudgy.
Yeah, she talks about how she like wasn't able to recognize him. When she does find out who he was, she's like, oh, I should have she's like, oh, now I recognize him. I remember that.
But there's a very like thick paragraph where she talks about like how he's there but he's not, and like if she tries to focus in on any of his features too much, she really can't see them. So
Yeah.
because I was curious about that too, and so when I was listening to the audiobook, I like paid extra attention this time.
Like I know she says something about how like it was noisy in Nino's, so she didn't recognize his voice. And then she says something about his lips too. Like
It smelled like garlic, so she couldn't smell the mint.
she couldn't
on
smell
him.
the mint. Oh yeah, that's the other thing she says. Yeah. Yeah.
I could see too if you've been told probably a lot for your entire life that oh you're gonna kiss a boy and then he's gonna die. You might get a little desensitized to it as well. Like oh well I made it this far and I haven't kissed anyone and no one's died, so it'll probably be okay.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying like, oh, that's a really great way to get your daughter to not go on any dates.
Yeah, I think Gansey says that to her. He's like, isn't that just a thing parents say? Not to date. I do think it's interesting, like the part where she just like feels super comfortable like telling him, but then she like can't tell Adam, and how like she mentions how like it was easy to tell Gansey because like there was no pressure behind it, you know, like she was just like telling him about it, not because she wanted to tell him he couldn't, you know. That was interesting. How like scared she is to tell Adam.
And how she's like, I'm just so young.
Yeah.
He's like,
I'm
okay.
very young. We've just met, and I'm very young.
You are young, but I mean, you're not that young.
Yeah, and you guys are like the same age.
Not young enough that that's a good excuse.
I'm young. Not we're young. I'm young. Like, they're the same age. I guess we didn't talk about what Adam did. We talked about him a little bit at the very beginning. I was very kind of annoyed with him, but at the same time I was like, yeah, wake up the line. Somebody's going to do what needs to be done.
Someone had to do it.
Yeah.
I had like that feeling of like, well, someone had to do it, but I worry that he was the wrong person to do it. That he could get like abusive of that power.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, and I feel like he did it for the wrong reasons too. Was the thing like he didn't do it because he felt like the line needed to be woken up. You know, like it wasn't like, oh, it needs to be woken. You know, like if Gansey had done it, it would have been like, oh, we've got to discover the line. But for like Adam, it was like, I have to have like the power of it. I have to be able to get to Glendower. Or I have to, you know.
Yeah.
It was because he was desperate, was why he did it. And doing things out of desperation is never a good idea.
Yeah. It's the same reason why Welk was there, trying to wake up the line.
And like the same reason Neve was there, out of desperation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, out of the three of them, I'm glad it was Adam, but.
Yeah. That's true, I guess. So now we have to go find Neve too, right? I'm guessing Neve is in the same place as Butternut.
What happens? I know what happens with Butternut. I don't remember what happens with Neve. I don't know if it shows up again or not.
Who's Butternut again?
It's her dad.
Blue's dad.
Oh.
His real name is Artemis.
Okay, I'm confused.
I couldn't remember his name.
That makes more sense.
Butternut. Butternut is kind of the default name they use for him throughout the whole series, though, so.
That's good.
You're not alone in calling him that.
That's very vivid.
Yeah. Yeah, you do find out more about her dad in book 3, I think it is. You figure out what's up with him.
So many books to read. I'm gonna end up rereading this.
I know. I won't let myself reread it this year. But.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
maybe
I waited like a year to reread it, so I'm pretty proud of myself for that.
I'll read the whole series, and then like a year later, I'll go back and like really explore it.
So this was like good timing. I like wanted to reread it because the last book's coming out, and I need to remember things, and also needed to reread it for this book club. So I'm glad we did it now. So it gave me a full excuse to read it.
What a book. I can't remember, at the end, could Gansey...
Go ahead.
Did Gansey see something at the end, too, that was them kissing? I can't remember. Okay.
Yeah, but he barely sees it, because it's like when Ronan, Gansey, and Blue all go into the tree during like the earthquake. And like, I think Blue sees a little bit more of it. Gansey just gets like a flash of like himself touching Blue's face, and then he like runs out of the tree to go stop Adam. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I imagine that will not help Adam's character progression.
Yeah.
Blue and Gansey start becoming a thing.
They get closer.
It will probably increase the inferiority complex.
Much angst to come.
I can't tell you.
All the angst.
It's nice that it's boy angst, though. That's so rare.
Yeah, that's true.
I do also, I wish everyone else was farther along, because I've read, like, she released, I think, like, the first page or something of the last book, and, like, the first line is great. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
How long has it been since the third book and this one? Because I know the fourth got pushed back.
It's been a little while.
Let me look it up.
I think it's been like a year and a half or something.
Like, the third one was already out when I started reading. I think the third one had, like, just come out when I read them or something. Or maybe it had been out for a while. Let me look. Oh yeah, Blue Lily, Lily Blue came out October 2014. So it's a year and a half between the two books.
Yes. So this book.
Yeah. It's great. Everyone should read it.
It's hard when they're... I just love it. I have no criticism.
When we love it, we talk so fast and cycle through all of the things we even cycled through it.
I remember the first time I read it, like one, like, I guess problem I had with it, but like I remember when I first read it, I skimmed a little bit. I know it's the scene where Blue finds Neve in the backyard and she's like scrying and she like does like the weird voice and stuff. I skimmed through that scene because I just didn't care. Like I was like, I just want to get back to like Blue and the boys and their friendships and this developing friendship that's happening. Like I just didn't like care what was happening with Neve. And so
Didn't care about where Gansey would go after he disappeared.
So this time, as I was like rereading it, I was like, I barely remember this. I was like, oh yeah, this is the part I skimmed over. A little scene, but I remember like just being like, I kind of want to get to the like rest of the stuff. I don't care about like Neve scrying over here.
For some reason, I don't know if it was because I too was reading fast. I had a very hard time following what was happening there.
Yeah.
Like I had a hard time telling like if it was a different voice coming from her mouth or if there was like a separate entity.
Yeah.
And I had to like go back through.
Yeah.
Kind of intensely to figure it out.
Yeah. And I think some of the like
That's great.
like psychic scenes in general are kind of hard to follow, and I think it's kind of on purpose, like because they're all just weird, and so you're like, I don't really understand this, and I don't think I'm supposed to understand this.
Yeah. That's why it's great to read it over again. Like when you're reading it the second time, there's still so much that you can catch that you didn't necessarily catch or like figure out the first time. So
yeah. One thing I didn't understand this time, I might have understood it the first time. I don't know. And I just was too lazy to go back and try to figure out. But, so Noah, like, they figure out he's dead and everything. His body gets moved, and so he's kind of, like, fading in and out. And he, like, comes to the apartment, and, like, Ronan and Adam and Blue are all sitting on the floor, and Noah sits with them, and they're talking. And they ask him who killed him, and he says, you already know. And then the next scene is, like, Gansey almost getting killed by Welk. And then when we get back to the rest of the group, they know it's Welk. And I don't know how they knew.
Oh yeah.
How did they know? I feel like
because they were like already suspecting him because he's a creeper, or
I don't know. Yeah, I was very confused. I was like, how did? Because obviously Blue wouldn't, because she. Well, I guess she'd met him that one time when he came to the house, but she didn't know who he was. But how did?
Now I want an answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know if the answer's in the book or if I just wasn't paying attention as to how they knew. I don't know.
Because the way this book is crafted, I would guess that's the case, but I have no idea what the answer
There's
is.
some scene where they somehow suspect her. But yeah, he's just like, you already know.
he must. I wonder if Noah says it somewhere like once. He's like, that guy is the worst.
Because they don't even know that Welk was Noah's friend. They don't know that. Because he does talk about, like, I don't know, he has, like, one part where he says something about, like, being killed, but...
Because, like, if you're a character in the book and not a person reading the book who realizes that Welk is a point of view character, it's a pretty big leap to make. Like,
yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how the rest of them knew. Because Gansey obviously knows because Welk tries to kill him. But I don't know how the rest of them... Because they knew independently of Gansey. Like, by the time Gansey got back, they knew.
Yeah.
I don't know how they knew it.
If you guys know, have an answer to this, put it in the comments.
Because I don't remember being confused by this last time, so the answer might be there and I just missed it this time. I don't know.
I
wondered
was
about it
reading
this time,
so
but...
fast that I was like, how do they already know? Whatever.
Whatever. Moving on.
And I'm pretty dense about these things, so I just figured I missed it.
Yeah. It could have just been an intuition thing, but it never says. He just says, you already know. And then they know.
Yeah. We never see, like, it couldn't even be Noah was like, hey, look at that guy, he's sketch. Because if Noah
on
and
campus.
yeah, and if they were in the same room, it would be super obvious because well, would start freaking out.
It's bothering me.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed this time when I was listening is that Noah says kind of a lot of things that are like hinting at all the things he's going through as a ghost. Like when what are they calling him for? I think Gansey's trying to get Adam, Noah to go somewhere and do something for him, like go check on Adam or something. And I'm getting so mixed up with my names. And Noah says something like, I'm almost already gone, which is like a super weird way to say I'm going somewhere.
He thinks he's like leaving for school. Yeah, you think he's leaving for school. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's also when Ronan goes missing near the beginning, Noah's like, check the church. Like he doesn't know. And there's another scene where he knows something. I can't remember. He knows that Adam called Blue. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
he's like he called the girl from he called the girl or whatever, and Adam's like, how did you know?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Noah just offers no explanation. He just knows.
Because he's portrayed so well as like that creepy kid who just is very observant.
That really weird, quiet roommate.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
You're
the reference was almost a pet.
The
when James
perfect
saw those
roommate.
outfits, just like
Yeah.
just this guy. We keep him around.
Yeah.
And I love how he takes to Blue because like he feels stronger around her, but it's just like really cute.
Yeah.
Be besties forever, please.
Their friendship is so cute.
I'm so worried Noah will be in the other books.
I'm gonna check the comments to see if anyone has the answer.
Anyone know how they knew it was real?
It's really bothering you, eh?
Like when I got to that part last night, I was really tempted to go back and like read a bunch of it to figure it out, and I was like, I was tired though. I wanted to go to bed, and I was like, I just want to finish this book and go to bed. So I didn't try and figure it out. Because they don't know that Welk stole, because he stole a bunch of stuff from Gansey's locker one time and made copies, but they don't know about that. They don't know that he went to Blue's house for a reading.
Yeah.
Die Facing Our Foes commented and said that they just assumed that during the point of view cut, they were like, cut the crap, Noah. And he told them.
That's impossible.
And we've got Diamonds and Dregs in the comments talking about how they adore the series so much but didn't fall in love with the first book immediately because they felt distracted by the highly descriptive writing and the POV shifts. And I definitely got that too at the beginning. I was like, are you going to spend this much time describing everything?
Yeah.
I felt that with the Shiver series initially too.
Yeah.
Just like I think that's the way her writing is. It
those
took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah. I was, because I read...
Yeah, they're different than her normal stuff.
I read the first 2 Shiver books. Like, those were the first books I ever read by her. And it put me off from reading these, because I had wanted to read these, but then I started those ones first and didn't like them. And so I was like, whatever, I won't read her other books. And I'm glad I finally picked them up.
And I've also read Lament by her, which I didn't love. So this one is just...
Oh, yeah. I tried to read the Scorpio races and couldn't get into it now that I think about it.
Yeah.
I do want to try reading
I own it. I want to go back to it.
Because I normally don't like werewolf stuff. I'm normally the most critical person about that type of stuff. But I did like the Shiver series. I just bought the second one, so...
Yeah. I didn't think they were... They definitely are decent for, like, a werewolf series, but yeah, I just don't really like...
Yeah.
that sort of thing very much, so I had trouble getting
Like a werewolf story doesn't necessarily appeal to me.
Yeah.
Necessarily appeal to me. Does anyone know if Maggie is a plotter, pantser, outliner?
Okay. She's talked before about this, about how, like, when she's become more of a plotter over time. Like, she used to wing it more, but she's realized that, like, the more plotting she puts in, like, the better, like, outcome she gets. And that, like, it's, just, like, a better story when she plots more. So, yeah, she definitely is a plotter. Which I think you can kind of tell.
Yeah, I was
Definitely don't
wondering,
feel
like,
pants.
how did you come up with all of this?
Yeah.
Or did you just have this massive outline? Still, how did you come up with that outline? I would like to know.
She definitely has, like, good, like, I don't know, she's great to follow on, like, Tumblr and Twitter, because when she, like, answers questions about writing and everything, she always has good answers. Probably because her personality is just so great. Her personality is kind of like a combination of all the characters in this book. So,
Definitely.
she definitely has a large part of Ronan in her. Which is great.
And a lot of Blue's wit. Like the witty, sarcastic responses that she has to people who ask kind of, like, stupid questions.
Yeah. I feel like she's basically a combination of Blue and Ronan.
Yeah. And she loves cars, so I trust her when she talks about Gansey's car and stuff.
All of her books have cool cars in them, except for the Scorpio races. It has water horses instead. But yeah, the Shiver books have a lot of like cool cars in them too. But, yeah. Yeah, and in the second book she gets into like, in the second book she has like a lot of like racing because it's Ronin, so he races and stuff.
Of course.
So yeah, you can tell that she like loves cars in her writing.
Mm-hmm. She did at it was like GeekyCon or something, right? NerdCon, where they did the car racing, her versus John Green.
Right.
And John's car caught fire.
Caught fire, yes. She's basically, if you follow her on Twitter, you just get a lot of updates on her cars and what's happening with them because they're like always in the shop. Yeah. It is great.
And she runs Y'all Fest and Y'all West. Y'all West is coming up, so if you're on the West Coast, you should go to that. One, the West Coast is beautiful and wonderful. Two, they have a crap ton of awesome offers. It's in Santa Monica, I believe.
Okay.
Like close to LA-ish.
I know it's Santa something. I was going to guess Santa Barbara, but Santa Monica I think is right.
Yeah, it's a fancier area than Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara is still fancy. Checking the comments.
And also Maggie lives in rural Virginia, so all of that stuff is very accurate in this too.
Yeah.
This book
I
always
had a little bit of a hard time telling the difference between the two accents, like the more rural one and the more highbrow one. Not necessarily because I haven't heard it before, but just the way it was described, I was trying to say them like, how is it, what's being drawn out here? I don't understand.
I never can understand like descriptions of how people talk. Whereas you have a degree in linguistics, so you might be able to understand those descriptions. But every time an author describes how characters are talking, unless it's specifically like this, where it's like a Virginia accent, I'm like, I know what that sounds like. But when they're like, they clipped their R's, I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I just give them whatever accent I want and move on.
Yeah.
But whenever I read these books, it always makes me want to go to like the mountains in Virginia.
Yeah.
And just like walk around and explore. Because it all sounds so pretty. It always sounds super pretty.
We had Die Facing Our Foes in the comments asking if any of us have read the anthology she did, The Anatomy of Curiosity.
I think we have it at work. It's with like her critique partners, Brenna Jovanoff and Tara Grattan.
And I guess they each write a short story. They're saying, and then dissect it. Like to show you their writing process.
I've listened to it before, and it's really cool. And I think they make notes on each other's or something too, if I remember right.
Cool.
Yeah, I flipped through it, but I haven't actually read it. She does good short stories sometimes. Like I know at one point, it was sometime last year maybe, she would do like short stories on Twitter. Like she would do them like a tweet at a time. And they were always like just really quirky, weird, like total Steve Otter stories. Like they were really weird and like
Yeah, I saw that book actually when I was researching Maggie Steve Otter, but I read the Goodreads and I couldn't tell what it was because on Goodreads it looks like it's just short stories, but I saw it in a list that was like books on writing, and I got really confused and I just left the page and ate some cookies.
That's what I usually do on Goodreads. I just get confused on Goodreads, and I don't understand what people are talking about. I saw a review for this book where the person was like basically like acting like it was like a typical like happy paranormal romance or something. I was like, I don't understand what book you read, but I don't think it's the same book I read. They were like talking about like basically this whole book was will Blue kiss Gansey or not, and I was like, I can see how you could maybe have that complaint in like one of the later books, but definitely not in this one. She never worries about kissing Gansey in the first book. And the person was like, basically your options are kiss him and he lives, or kiss him and he dies, or don't kiss him and he lives. I don't see what the problem is. And it's like, no, you're pretty much told he's going to die from the beginning no matter what she does. I was very confused by the person's review. I was like, I don't think we read the same book. I don't know what you read, but I think this is one of those books, you know, like some books, you love, but you like see someone else doesn't like it and you're fine. This is one of those books that when like someone else doesn't like it, I get personally offended. Like, what is wrong with you? Which is why I was really glad that everyone in the Word Nerds liked it, because I was like, if someone doesn't like it, I don't know how I'm going to handle this. It's going to be rough. It's going to be like when some people didn't like Cruel Beauty that much, and I really struggled that day.
Oh, yeah. That was a very rough day. It's like, I love you, but I need to stop talking about my love right now.
That's how I feel about this book. If anyone hadn't liked it, I don't know what I would have done. Or just like muted you for the whole chat. Like, you're not allowed to talk, sorry. You don't get an opinion.
We didn't have our Simon Cowell of the group, though.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know what Kaylin thought about the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know she owns it. I saw that on Goodreads when I was like going in to like change my status on it, that she has it on like her TBR owns shelf, so like she has it. She read it one day.
I'm sure there's a way to segue from this into our search for the new Word Nerd and the fact that there's one day left on it, because then anyone would run that.
We actually had a question about this from Jody in the comments. Let me pull that up. She was asking if we would consider someone who reads and writes in a totally different genre than we write in, like historical or contemporary romance. Definitely. Fun fact, we all also write in different genres. We just tend to love fantasy the most. But yeah, any genre. We love it. Any person. We want to see your face on YouTube. On the YouTube.
Well, as long as you're YA, any genre.
Yeah.
Even then, like, as long as you have an appreciation and understanding of YA, like, you don't have to write it exclusively by any stretch.
Yeah.
Oh,
You don't have to realize it.
We'd have to kick all of us out if it was exclusively YA.
If you hate YA, you're probably not a good fit for us. But if you only write adult and think that people should only write adult, possibly not a good fit. But
Probably gonna be a hard pass.
yeah. Other than that. But yeah. You have a little over 24 hours. Yeah.
One day left. We've got some great auditions. We're pretty excited. It's going to be really difficult.
It is. I'm
There's
glad
so
we have
many.
multiple stages to this. I couldn't pick based off.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will. I have been responding to everyone who sent one in.
We got a new one about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I know we've gotten a couple since I started driving back home from my parents' house, and that's a really long drive, so I haven't replied to those ones yet. But anything sent before today, I have replied and said, we received this. So if you've sent it before today and have not gotten that email saying we received it, we did not receive it, and you need to send it again. Yeah, email them to us. We've got...
We want you.
We want you. And no matter what, we're emailing everyone next Sunday about interviews and rejections all on one day, so everyone will find out together. And then we will be conducting interviews the next Sunday. So Sunday special 2 weeks from now will be canceled because we will be doing interviews. I'm so excited about this.
I'm so excited. We have like 20 auditions so far, so there's...
Yeah, it's... I remember we were worried, me and Kelly in particular, like, what if we only get like 2 and they're terrible? And Erin was the one who was being the voice of reason, like, no, we're probably going to get a lot, guys. And I could not see how it would happen.
I was really worried.
Yeah.
Not optimistic about it.
Yeah, we talked about it too when I was at your house.
Because we just gotten like our first 2 auditions at that point. We're like, we're actually getting them.
Yeah, it was like, it's the first day and we've got 2. We're going to have options. Oh my gosh. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
There's tons of people too down in the comments of the Join the Word Nerds video talking with each other. I believe there's a section of people from different countries talking about possibly forming their own channel at some point. So,
It's a great idea.
yeah.
We formed.
Yeah. So if you wanted to try out but couldn't because of time restraints, maybe get on that thread and push it through if you want to. Yeah, people are just awesome. I'm babbling because I'm so excited.
I'm so excited.
When I get really excited, I just talk and talk and talk, and I'm not exactly thinking about what I'm saying anymore. And it's the extrovert problem that I have.
The interview
I will
process
talk
should be
without
interesting.
thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I get into trouble. Yeah. Interview process will be fun.
Is somebody dying in the background somewhere?
I think my husband was
It's
talking.
you.
Coughing and choking. Well,
We have been talking. Let me double check and make sure we don't have any questions one last time before we wrap this up. I'm very proud of us for making it an hour.
Yeah.
It's
like we
really
all
hard to
liked
do
it.
when you like the book.
We all liked it, but there's lots of good things to talk about. Like, I feel like some books you're just like, I just like it. This one I have reasons for liking.
And then next month's book club is, I want to say, The Naturalists by Jennifer Lynn
Yeah.
Barnes, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I need to read that.
I need to buy that. That's
I bought, like,
one
3 of the
book
book
I
club books.
couldn't find.
Yeah.
I need to buy the May book.
What's the May book?
I was just looking at the video.
I think I have the
It
list on
looks
my phone.
I
contemporary.
think it's the one that.
It's got red text.
I think I have the list on my phone. I'm pretty sure. Anyway. Yes. May is This Side of Home. I've read that.
Yes. Okay. I thought it was the one that you recommended. This Side of Home.
All right,
we
my
have.
first recommendation for 2017. So.
We don't have any more questions. We do have one more thumbs up for the Curiosities book from Ellie. So.
I'll check that out. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. That'll have to be my next writing book after Mrs. Paper Hearts one. Does anyone have any final thoughts about the books?
I'm so glad we read this.
Yeah.
Me too.
I'm so glad you all liked it.
Like, I'm not sure I would have
worried.
taken the leap this soon had we not picked it for book club, so I'm so glad.
Mhm.
And I've owned it for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad
This
you all
is
got
the
to
book
read
on,
it
like,
before the last book
perpetual
came out.
TBR.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad it kind of reminded me of how good this series is and that I want to continue reading it. Because so many times I just read the first book and I'm like, that was cool, and then I kind of forget about it. So.
Mhm.
That's why, like, the timing works out so well, and I'm trying to do this more often. Like, I will not start the first book until the last book is in sight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm glad you all got to read it like before the last book came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that you'll get to like, because yeah, I mean, sometimes I like waiting for books if I love it enough, but I like having a little bit of a wait for like the very last one or something to be able to like be excited for what's gonna happen in the last one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is the perfect wait time.
Yeah.
1 month.
Mhm.
Should we wrap this up?
Yes.
Emma, you're the host. You wrap.
I didn't think about that. All right, we're going to go. We see you guys next Sunday. It's our write-in, right?
Yeah.
So come with your writing things. Get your computer or your typewriter if you have one of those.
Please bring your typewriter.
Bring your typewriter.
Please.
Yeah.
Send us pictures. Anyway, so we'll see you guys next Sunday for the write-in. And make sure you get your videos in by tomorrow if you're auditioning. And we'll see you guys later this week.
Bye.
Bye.